The prologue to John's Gospel, the prologue that we just heard, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God. The Word was with God. This Gospel reading for this morning serves a very important purpose in the life of the church, especially for 21st century Christians on the first Sunday after Christmas. The Christmas story, the account of Jesus' birth as a child, an infant child, in a manger, visited by shepherds, tipped off by angels, is a marvelous and mysterious depiction of Christ coming among us as a child. It is a portrait of power, of God's surprise in the human world, by God's surprise in becoming one so weak, so vulnerable, so insignificant, just a child. It's a warm, kind of cozy story that tugs at our heartstrings. In the annual retelling of that particular dimension of the story is important for the church. It's important for the world. It's a story of hope. It's a story of God's transformative power, alive and well at work in the world. And it's very appropriate for us to celebrate this, for us to revel in this story. But the reality is, as people of faith, as followers of the risen Lord Jesus, we can't stand around forever, gazing into the crib, standing in the hay with the sheep and the other livestock, looking at the infant child. We have to tear ourselves away from the beginning. We have to tear ourselves away from the baby and look forward, out ahead, to the ministry of the man. Prologue of John's Gospel eloquently escorts us from the stable and the manger and the Holy Family out into the rest of John's story of the good news of Jesus Christ. It lays out the church's understanding of the person of Jesus as part of the very heart of God, as part of the divine nature of God, present from the very beginning, part of creation itself, as the fullness of God's creative power and love made personal in the human being, Jesus of Nazareth. The Word became flesh, human, in the person of Jesus, and presents humanity with a new option, a different kind of option, an option of life, an option of holiness, an option of self-transcendent love. We now have the option, because of the flesh being altered through Christ's taking it on, to be light and life in the world, to express and embody the sacrificial love that Jesus embodied and perfected to its highest point. The prologue tells you the whole story of the gospel. It lays the whole thing out there in 18 verses. You don't get all the details, but you have the arc of the gospel story. It's a drama of light versus darkness, good versus evil, heaven versus hell. But the prologue spoils the ending. because it tells us that the darkness will not overcome the good. The darkness could never overcome the good, even if it only rivals it for a while. It tells you that good came into the world. Life and light came into the world in the person of Jesus, but was rejected. But God would not let it end there. Light will prevail. Good will not be overcome, but it will cost God dearly. The reader will be presented. The listener will be presented with many opportunities to choose sides. Who will we be? Where will we go? Whose are we? The prologue offers this incredible invitation to begin the journey, to see the signs that the Gospel of John will show. And if we follow, we will see every single one of them. The promise is there as well. Grace upon grace. Truth in our midst. Light in our lives. So in this season of Christmas, as we hold the child close, as we feel the warm breath on our faces, we're called to remember that we can't stay here forever. We're called to remember that we have to get on the road. The child will be a man before we know it. And in following him, we will discover more than we ever knew possible. The flesh of a child becomes the form of an adult. The steps of a curious, uncertain seeker become those of a disciple.